Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mather. Yes. Elmore. Yes. Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Kearney. Yes. Shooter.
Yes.
And last Thursday night's work session.
This needs to go on the right side. Oops.
White.
Yes.
Mather. Yes. Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Abstain.
Wheeler.
Abstain.
Kearney. Yes. Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
And now we move to approval of warrants. Is there a specific warrant anybody'd like to question?
I had a question. Check number 083471, page 16. And I finally found it in another area that it was for the Civic Center, so I'm going to assume that for the replacement of seats was for what we already had approved
Yes.
and voted on.
Yes.
But I had to find it somewhere else. Okay.
Okay.
Just checking.
Yep.
And then on page 26, and I said I'd bring it up every time till I got an answer, and I still don't have an answer. The gym. And Kathy's not here, but I think we've given it enough time.
Okay.
You can tell her, bring something forward.
Yep.
Because here's my next question with that. I also see people pay to St. John's out of their paycheck, the Wellness Center, to the YMCA, and they don't get money. So I just think it's kind of unfair that a select few do or one specific vendor does. And it didn't go out for a proposal.
Okay.
I'm kind of lost on that one.
Any other questions? May I have a motion?
So moved. I remember that.
Second. Mather. Yes. Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Kearney. Yes. Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Now we'll consider financials and look at the June treasurer's report. May I have a motion?
I have a question. Mr. White, did you get an answer to your question?
No.
In the email?
The first email?
The 953,000 that's negative in the electric fund.
What's the question?
What is it?
No, what, 953?
Yeah. I got a note back that I sent questions back. I didn't get a response to. That had mentioned depreciation. Last I knew, we weren't accumulating depreciation on the electrical system. And if we are accumulating it, where is it going?
Well, so we do book assets, have been booking assets since 2013. And it all sets on the balance sheet. So that's where that sets, and that's what the contra accounts are in the. When you look at the R&E, that's what the contra accounts are. So it backs out a single year expenditure, and we do straight line depreciation through our capitalization policy. So we are booking depreciation, and then the second part, in terms of when the payments are made from Fund 45, which is the Economic Development Fund, to Fund 80, that is, so the asset is the payments are being made, and then when we close out the year on the balance sheet, you still have an asset of the principal, because that's an asset at the beginning of the year. So at the end of the year, we basically back out the principal so that you're only counting the money once. So you're basically, you're paying on the principal. Does that make sense? I can explain it other ways too.
So the 953,000 is real money, or is it just
On a monthly basis, the Fund 45 makes a payment to Fund 80. Okay, so it shows up as revenue.
Would you put names to those, because there are people here.
Fund 45 is economic development, Fund 80 is electric. Okay, so it shows up as revenue. But a payment, a principal payment, is not revenue. It's automatically applied to an asset.
So you're saying at the beginning of the year, the principal's already added in?
I'm saying that there's a principal balance that it shows up as an asset, as a principal balance. Call it $600,000. Okay, then monthly, a principal and interest payment is made from the Economic Development Fund to the Electric Fund. Okay, and that shows up as revenue. But when you're making, it's interest. And so the transaction that you're seeing there is us, instead of us doing it post that. So what we used to do is we used to pay the auditor to reduce that asset when that's something we should be doing internally. So what we do is we book it all as revenue so that people get to see that, and at the end of the year we back out the revenue and we lower the asset so that it's so it's up there.
So we'll see the asset then when we get the audit report.
You'll see, yeah. I mean, so yeah.
So there's another 4 or 5 million that's not reflected in assets.
Assets and cash are two different things, Jim. I mean, this is simply dealing with cash.
Okay.
So, and that transaction is the net of the transaction to close out the books, and that's why the June report. So, but Incode's going to pick up that activity every time. So, does that answer? I mean, you can ask these questions to me. I'd be more than happy to answer them. So,
No, that answered the question on the 953.
okay.
So that's an annual adjustment that you're making at the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
And did that affect the operating account or the reserve account, or which account? Where did it go in the electric account?
It's going, no, it affects the reserve account is what it will affect, because that's where the money is coming into the reserve. So that's the journal entry.
So
off
it's
the
the
balance
payback.
sheet. Mm-hmm.
It's the payback of loans.
Right. I mean, if we were to truly do it correctly, you would never see the revenue. You would just book the interest. Right.
Because the rest of it's already on the books.
As an asset.
So we actually have more than 8 million. We've got 12 or 13 million.
No, that's not a correct. That is not a correct statement, Jeff. That is not a correct statement.
What is the
paid
cash
back.
balance?
I didn't. What's it?
What is the cash balance in both the electric operating and electric reserve fund?
8.5 million.
Total?
Yes.
What's the breakdown?
I have to go. I don't know. I have to go pull that. I can go pull that report if you want. So, but what he's adding in is the asset. So, I mean, it's going to be you've got. I mean, we have 3 accounts. As I've said this in the past, we've got bank, U.S. Bank, which is our investment, which is $6.4 million. There's probably close to 4.1, 4.2 in our reserve, and there's negative probably 2.6, 2.7, somewhere in that area in our operating. So you add them all together and you get a plus. So, I mean, if you want, I'll run back and pull that report and bring it to you. I mean, that's again, go ahead and run.
You'll get a written report.
We're going to pull it right from the
That's what I was talking about before the meeting opened, and you will get a written report, and you'll have it this week. And I'll copy everybody.
But 8.5 is the net of the 3 accounts. It has nothing to do with the asset. It's
3
just
accounts.
Yes. We have our investment account, we have our reserve account, and we have
Dog on a possum turd.
our operating account. 6.4 sets a U.S. bank, 4 point something is in our reserve, and then the negative number is in operation. That's so better cash. So I don't see it. So let me see the mouse. Okay. All right. So if you see here, so our 1,000 is our claimable pool cash. Okay, so it's a credit, which means it's negative because it's a cash account. So 2.6. I said 2.7. It's 2.65. So these drawdowns here this is how much money is due that was paid this year in loan repayments. Which that I said 4, so I missed the last payment. 4.7 is what's setting in reserve. And that's a debit, so that's positive. And then 6.449 is what is in our long-term investment. So if you take, and this isn't our balance sheet, this is just our trial balance. So if you take 2,659,556 negative 4,710,440 positive and 6,449,275. That's $8,500,159, which is exactly what the treasurer's balance says. Now that's and mind you guys, that's ending June 30th. So we have all of July's activity and now all of August's activity. So I mean so the 3 accounts is our operating, our reserve, and our long term. And the only thing that 953 is where we have received revenue in that isn't really revenue, because when you owe a note, then when you make a payment, you're paying down the note. So the only revenue you really have is interest. But because of transparency, everybody wanted to see both the principal and interest being applied, which it's not really how you should handle that transaction, but we do. So how we fix it is we just, at the end of the year, we just back all that revenue back out, as you should. So I hope I'm answering the question. If anyone's, and I think what Jim is alluding to, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the accounts receivable on the keep that up. On those, run the So if you look at the assets, see those due to or due froms, those were all reduced because the payments were made throughout the year. So that's the net of that activity. So the 14 million that Jim is referencing is you have all of that due from that sets out there as an asset. But as you notice, this year, so the 1,300 accounts, I wish I had a little pointer, but the 1,300 accounts is where we've actually started, through GASB 34 and direction of this council, started booking assets. So all the 1,300s is where is now fixed assets that is being booked. What's the question?
Is Copeland 860?
Yes.
Okay.
That's as of June 30th.
Right. 14 or 15.
So that's, so yeah, so the 1,200s is notes payable, and thousands is cash. And then, right, which are those three accounts, which I've referenced many times. And then 1,300s is the fixed asset, as we've been, since 13, we've been capitalizing fixed assets as we do them. And then ideally, we'll go back and things that still can be depreciated, we'll put those in so that our assets actually will be a much larger number so that we can, as we talked about, you know, if we needed to do a big bond issuance, that we would do it because we would show we have assets on the book, which is one of the things that we're working towards.
And buy a transmission line. All right. Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
Which one are we on?
The treasurer's report?
Treasurer's report.
Yeah.
Treasurer's report, okay.
Yeah. Motion to approve.
Second. Lost track.
Elmore,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Ernie.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mather.
Yes.
And the investment report.
Motion approved.
Second.
Ask you something before you leave.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Ernie.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mather.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Now we move to ordinances, and we have two second readings. Council Bill 4125 deals with rezoning at Nelson. No, but you,
This is where the Nelson Education Center used to be, and it's Lot 2, and it's going to be from RS2 to M1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ernie.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mather.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes. Council Bill 4125 is approved and becomes ordinance 5375. Council Bill 4126 deals with rezoning, and this again is second reading. Lot 6 and 7, the Cedar Crest addition.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mather.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Ernie.
Yes.
Council Bill 4126 is approved and now is ordinance 5376. Now we move to first and second readings and come to Council Bill 4127, which is approval of financial disclosure and conflicts of interest, which we do every year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mather.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Ernie.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Move on second.
Second.
White.
Yes.
Mather.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Purney.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Council Bill 4128 is approved and becomes ordinance 5378.
No, 4127.
And that was 27 and is ordinance 5377. Thank you. Now we have Council Bill 4128, which is an agreement with us and MoDOT, which is funneling money to us for ADA improvements.
Can you explain that one? Where it's going in that?
This is just the sidewalk improvements along Jefferson. What we had to do is we had to amend that to include the signal heads and pedestrian components with the signal lights so that the state would get funding from the commission within this from the federal highway.
But they'll still be responsible for that.
That is correct, yeah. The way we're doing that, we're improving the sidewalks and replacing the conduit that needs to be replaced and pulling the wires up, and then they're taking care of all the hardware and stuff. We didn't want to be in their control boxes and stuff, so we kind of drew a line there.
But there's still their lights and their...
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, motion to approve.
Second.
Mather.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Purney.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Move on. What?
Move on to second.
Second.
Elmore.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Purney.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Mather.
Yes.
Council Bill 4128 is approved and is now ordinance 5378. Council Bill 4129 deals with an agreement for a change in the contract with Larkin Ryan Anderson Engineering. Would you tell us what's going on?
Well, basically with this next phase of the treatment plant improvements, that we will be, there's a couple items that we needed to look into a little bit further. The sludge or the biosolids processing, they had proposed one type of aeration, and I asked them to look a little deeper because we've had historic odor complaints down in that area.
I imagine that.
And I want to make sure we're getting this right. And we had I couldn't get a good answer from the consultant whether or not this aeration equipment would handle polymer-laden biosolids. And so we went to a couple of facilities and they looked at it a little deeper, and they did change some things. So it was just doing some due diligence on that. And then another item would be looking at, we have two buildings down there that are the original structures from whenever the treatment plant was built in '73. One of the structures houses the final filters. We're removing those and going to be closing that off and doing improvements within half of that building. Well, the other half of the building isn't getting touched, and I thought, well, during that time, we really need to look at the layout of that building and get that improved so that we have a good facility that's homogeneous, really. And then also the bathroom in that facility is not ADA compliant. We need to get that addressed while we're down there working on things. As far as the de-water building, we were looking at it on the western part of that building is failing. The concrete block has been repaired multiple times, and we'll be removing half of that building to stabilize that. And then we looked at repositioning some of the equipment in that building to make it a little bit more user-friendly and utilize the floor space a little bit more with handling chemicals and stuff in there.
And this funding was originally a COPS.
Well, this is within the contract. We're paying this out of the operation fund at this point. The other item, we had the original catwalks within the aeration ditches is concrete, and they're going on 40 years old. Well, we had that in the capital improvements just to do that as a separate project to replace that concrete. And I felt as though if we go ahead and just have them engineer that out and include that in the whole scope of things, we'll probably get a better product and all at one time. You know.
And it's our intent to, once we get some drawings that we can go over with you guys, either do it at a work session or during presentation discussion to give you some ideas of what we've been working on over the last 2.5 years, so you guys can kind of be brought up to speed when we get to those, get something polished and ready to present to you guys.
So total, how much does it add to the first one we?
Just $20,000. Yeah, and I mean basically you're addressing a catwalk that we had already had in the capital improvements plan that we was going to do in some out years. Look at some buildings, make it match the rest of the facility, bring it all up to date, and then assure that we're doing the right thing on the sludge handling.
And then that will complete all the upgrades to the.
This will complete all the engineering for that final phase of the treatment plant improvements. Yes.
That's something you're going to live with as long as you're here.
Well, this is just paperwork.
Yeah, this is just the engineering. Yeah, once we get this completed, we'll send it to state for review, and then comments, and then we'll respond to those comments and get a construction permit, and then the fun begins of how we're going to finance it and pay for it.
Motion to approve. Second. Cheap part. It's got to be done, huh? Yeah.
Jordan?
Yes.
Wheeler?
Yes.
Ernie? Suter?
Yes.
Crabtree?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Mather? Yes. Elmore?
Yes. Move on second.
Second.
Wheeler?
Yes.
Herney?
Yes.
Suter?
Yes.
Crabtree?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Mather?
Yes.
Elmore?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Council Bill 4129 is approved and is ordinance 5379. That concludes first and second readings. There being no first readings, we move to old business. And again, I know of none. Anybody have anything they want to revisit?
As you well know, Mayor, Brumley was very successful this year.
Good.
Good crowds, very good entertainment.
Was good entertainment. I agree. Anybody else? Chief, you have anything you'd like? Chief?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. Mr. Noggle from Mercy EMS asked me to thank the council again for their time at the last work session, and they were very appreciative of your comments and, again, your time. Secondly, Patty Burns, who's over there in a media capacity, and Stephanie Taggart from Emerson recently went to Nebraska and attended the Region 7 Local Emergency Planning Committee regional meeting, where Laclede County won an award for outstanding performance of a mid-sized LEPC. For those of you that don't know what an LEPC is, it has to do with hazardous materials planning in the county. It's made up of a number of agencies, both private, local, and county and city government. Mr. Jordan sits on the committee with myself, and Mr. Eric Mork from Public Works is there as well. And Patty and Stephanie attended that conference and accepted that award on our behalf. So I just wanted to let everybody know that.
You have anything, Chris? Lana? Chris Allen.
I don't have anything.
Council, I'll start with you.
Mayor, I'm still looking for the RFQ on the electric study. Why don't we add that to whole business? Can that be done?
I think we've got all we need. Sure.
Two things. Sidewalks on Bland. They're in for this year. When are we going to start them?
Got quite a bit of work. It'll be probably spring. Spring.
So it won't be done this year.
It will all be done in 2015. It'll be done probably in the summer.
Okay.
This fiscal year.
I've got Jefferson to do that's got time constraints on it, or we'll get penalized.
I've been after you for 3.5 years, haven't I?
And
one other question I have is in the Southdale Center there, the road that the city's putting in for the property owners there. Does that connect into the furniture store property?
That is correct. Yes.
It will open into that.
Yes.
It doesn't look like it now, but
it will.
All righty.
Yeah.
That's right.
Had one more question on Bland to follow up on Mr. Crabtree's question. All legal obstacles removed now, or is there still issues?
No, there's still right-of-way issues there. I mean, we're going to have to.
So we're going to resolve those by spring, or?
We can pursue that. The 20,000 is laid there, and we'll do what we can do as far as putting infrastructure in. But as far as getting additional right-of-way, that's dealing with a property owner.
So there's going to be a gap?
Yes.
There could be, very likely be a gap.
There will be a gap. As it lies today, there will be a gap. Yes. There's no bones about it.
You know, I know that the mayor has had some discussions with the property owner, and he kind of got filled in with what his thoughts were on that property. So
that's something we could address in a future session.
That's a policy issue, and you guys let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Condemn it and take it. That's what we record it.
I don't have other tools to do that.
Let us know.
That's all I have.
We didn't have any more issues with the heavy rain last night? No more sinkholes or anything like that?
no, it was a pretty impressive rain. We got an inch and a half after midnight. So and one was blasted was pretty good. So.
Mr. Elm.
I do have one thing. I would have brought it up at some other time, but it was mentioned, the YMCA was mentioned tonight. I'm like Cleo, I've kind of been after this for a while. You know, we spent a fortune down there, and the entrance, I started to say the rear entrance, but it's not. It's just the entrance to the YMCA looks terrible.
Okay.
A little bit of paint and just a little bit of elbow grease would go a long ways. That's the main entrance that people use every day, and it is an embarrassment and has been for a long time. And I brought it up before, and I guess I'll be like Esther, I'll just stay after it till you do something. But it is an embarrassment, and you need to do something about it.
Okay.
That's all.
Mr. Jordan? Mr. Webb?
I have one thing I have been asked again with regard to the tour of the new middle school that I forwarded you invitations about. So if that will take place sometime next week, and if you're going to want to go with us, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know that you are and what your preferred time is.
And I'm open to a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do we have any